The Danish Deception, Part 17. Okay, so I get a notification from immigration, log into my account, and long behold, the petition was approved. And I remember I was relieved for a few reasons. The first one is that, obviously we get to start building a life here together in Dallas, but also if there was any skeletons from his past, I feel like it would not have been approved. So I almost felt like relief whenever I saw that. And so I called him, and obviously he was excited. We called our lawyer, asking her, what are the next steps? And she said, well, you can stay in the States next time you come, and we can file for a work visa and a travel visa, but you're not gonna be able to go back to Denmark. And at this point, he was like, since my dad's passed, I can work remote. Work's been a little bit slow, so I can work remote. Obviously, I might have to pull some all-nighters, which isn't ideal, but it's worth it to be with you. And so I said, okay, that's fine. After a couple of weeks, he comes back to Dallas, and he comes with his mom this time. This is her first time in the United States. And I remember just being so excited, and I wanted her to have the best time because, she's just lost her husband of 50 years. And I go to DFW to pick them up. I had a big sign saying, welcome to Dallas. And I also got his mom some flowers. And it was just such a special moment. She had this American flag draped around her, and she's just so proud to be in the States. So we come back home, I cooked dinner, and we just spent the week exploring Dallas. And then we had gone to Key West for about 5 days. We did Miami and Key West with his mom. And I will say a lot of that trip was paid for by his mom. She wanted to cover a lot of it, which was just so sweet. And then I remember I paid for the flights, and then he paid for a bunch of stuff while we got there, but she paid for most of the hotel. So we all kind of paid for a little bit. But I know y'all haven't forgotten this man still owes me money. And so I remember we were in Key West, and I said, hey, are you gonna start sending me some funds? And it was awkward because I wanted to bring it up for a while, but then, we went to Panama, he paid for everything, and then his dad passed away, and I didn't, it's just, now it's getting kind of awkward for me to bring it up. And so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna send you some money. We go through the trip in Key West, have a good time, come back to the States. He still hasn't sent me money. He's giving me the turnaround, and I'm getting a little antsy, and I'm getting very triggered. And so we're in the living room, and he says he wants to just go on the balcony and get some fresh air. And I start creeping. I walk up to the window, and I'm trying to look over his shoulder at his phone, and he doesn't know I'm looking. And on his phone, I see there's a gambling website, and my stomach is in knots, and his mom is currently in the living room with me. So there's nothing that I can really say, because again, I'm still wanting to protect him. And again, I will repeat this one more time. I wanted to tell everyone about his addiction and our issues. I wanted to tell the world, but he very much said, everyone's gonna view me differently. With the excuse with his mom, he was like, she's an old woman, you're gonna stress her out, and she's not gonna be able to do anything about it, and now she's just stressed. So he was able to manipulate me into not bringing it up to anyone. And so his mom is here, and I don't say a word. Instead, I send him a text, and I just say, and it's weird because he's in the same, he's 5 feet from me, and I send him a text saying, I see a gambling website on your phone. I'm gonna need to see your bank statements as soon as possible. And he tells me, I'm only on this website because that's where I can watch sports for free. And I was just like, huh? This makes no sense. Obviously, I'm detecting all the bullshit. So I say, I want to see your bank statements right now. He pulls them up, and at this point, he has his Revolut statements, which I don't know if you guys remember, the very first time I sent him money, I downloaded an app called Revolut. Kind of like Venmo. He uses that for a lot of things in the States because you basically get the local currency rate if you use Revolut, and he had a physical card that was tied to his Revolut. So I wanted to see that. So he printed out, or didn't print out, he showed me the statements directly from his phone for Revolut, and then he showed me his Danish bank account and the transactions. And I went through everything with a fine-tooth comb over the course of months, and did not see anything alarming at all. So obviously I saw this gambling website on his phone, but I checked his bank accounts, I didn't see anything. So I let it go, but I was very clear, I better not ever see this on your phone ever, ever, ever again. So his mom leaves after having a great trip, and at this point, I'm still waiting for these transfers, and I'm like, what's going on? And he keeps telling me that he has things to pay for. He said he was helping his mom out with something, and then he said that he had another insurance payment, and there was a few things that he said he had. And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm done with the bullshit. Like, you need to start transferring me some money. And so basically he tells me that he's transferred a certain amount. He has a transfer limit that he can transfer to his Revolut, which is how he can send me money. And he's hit his monthly transfer limit. I don't really know what the fuck that means, but he said he hit it. And so I'm still very frustrated, but he basically says that he can't send me any more money until August timeframe. And during that time, his best friend came to visit, and the same best friend that was with him whenever I met him in Croatia. And what my ex didn't know was that I was in communication with his best friend, talking to him about the gambling, the issues. I didn't tell my ex that I was talking to him, but I just wanted to speak to someone from his past. Obviously, keep in mind that I don't have a lot of people to talk to, so it just made me feel a lot less alone. But basically, I'm putting more pressure on my ex, being like, hey, like, you need to start sending me money. And keep in mind, I'm also paying for like most of the household bills, and now like he's here full time. Like, you gotta pitch in, bro. And I'm not here to be your sugar mama, even though I have low-key been your sugar mama unintentionally. So I'm getting frustrated, and we get a notification that his work visa has been approved. And so I'm excited about this because this means that he can get a social, he can get a bank account. And something to keep in mind is when you're married to a gambling addict, you wanna make sure you take full financial control. And that was hard for me to do because with his Danish bank account, he had like a 2-factor authentication that scanned his face. So I couldn't just like log in whenever. But with Chase, I was like, all I need is a password. So we go to Chase, he opens up a bank account, and he says, I'm just gonna make a transfer from my Danish bank directly to my Chase bank, and then I'll be able to start sending you money via Zelle. And I'm like, okay, perfect, that works. Because he had like this limit on Revolut, or I couldn't remember the details, but I remember it didn't make sense. And every time I pressured him like for it to make more sense, he would gaslight me, and so we wouldn't get anywhere. And so I was getting very frustrated. But I'm like, okay, now you have Chase. So he tells me that he makes a big transfer to Chase, and that he is waiting for that to hit. And a couple days go by, I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh yeah, okay, the transfer hit. And he shows me an email from Chase, and it said like, we need to verify your identity. And he's like, oh, Chase is asking for this verification, and because I haven't done this verification, my account's locked. I'm like, okay, stop bullshitting. I know Chase. I go to Chase. I've been banking at Chase for a long time, and I felt like he was bullshitting. And so he said, you know what, let's go to the bank and talk about it, because I mean, I know I have money in there because I made this transfer like a while ago. And I said, okay, let's go to Chase. And this is when I start like thinking to myself, you know what, I'm gonna play a game. We're gonna go to Chase, and I'm gonna try to get out of the car and go into the bank with him. If he says, no, you should just wait in the car, I'm gonna know he's hiding something. And I really just wanted to see how he would react. So we go to Chase, he gets out of the car, and I start to get out of the car. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna be in and out, babe. You can just wait in the car. And I'm like, red flag. And you know what? I let him do his thing. I let him go inside. I'm like, okay, let's see what he comes back with. So he comes back and he says, hey, I'm able to take out, like, it was like $1,000 he's able to send to me. And he's like, here's like $1,000. I go, at this point, he told me he was gonna send me like 5,000. And so I'm like, what's going on? Are you lying? He was like, no, I'm not lying. I was like, well, I'm tired of carrying this relationship on my back, and I'm over it. And that was like, this is when I start really standing up for myself and telling him that I'm just done with the bullshit. And he gets so angry with me. I remember he had his gym bag in the car because the plan was for us to go to the bank, me drop him off at the bank, or me drop him off at the gym, and then I was gonna go to a showing. I drop him off at the gym, and he slams the car door. He goes, don't worry about picking me up, I'll walk home. And I get home, and I'm like, can we please talk about this? Because I wanna squash this. He goes, the way you talked to me was so disrespectful, and I'm not okay with it. There's money in that account. And I said, listen, I'm getting triggered. Like, I feel like you're lying about a lot of things, and it's making me feel like you're gambling. So I just need you to tell me the truth. He's like, I am telling you the truth. And like, you disrespected me, making me feel like less of a man, that like you've, supported us more than I have. And I was like, I'm not trying to make you feel like less of a man. I'm just telling you that I'm fucking tired of carrying this shit on my back. And he storms off, goes upstairs, goes in the guest bedroom, closes the door, and he refuses to talk to me and like locks the door. And I'm like, what is going on? I remember just being so angry because I'm like, you're the one with the addiction. You're the one that's hurt me, and somehow you're finding a way to put it all on me, and that's not okay. So I remember being really upset. And so basically I had a work event that night, and I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to go. And then finally I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go. I need to get out of the house. So I go. And at this point, it's really hard for me to hide my emotions. And a lot of the people at my last real estate firm probably remember this event. I showed up and I just was like bawling my eyes out. And like a lot of people didn't know what was going on, but I was just really, really sad and struggling a lot because I just felt like I was being gaslit. And I remember there was one of my coworkers and we were sitting in a corner at this event, and I actually ended up telling her about my ex's addiction because I just in that moment needed to talk to someone about it. And she was so sweet, so welcoming. Shout out to you, you know who you are. And so basically I go back home and he's upstairs in the bedroom not wanting to talk to me. So I'm like, can we please talk? He's like, I don't want to talk to you. And I was like, okay. So basically I'm on the couch, and it kind of worked out because we have some really good friends that they have cars that they use for Toro that they own. And we had picked up one of their cars because they were out of town earlier that day, and their car was outside and the keys were right on the counter. And so I was like, you know what? I know the PIN code to his Danish card. I bet it's the same PIN code for his Chase card. And so what I did was I grabbed the key to the car, my friend's car, and I like kind of sneakily snuck out of the house because I didn't want him to hear the garage and be like, where's she going? So I snuck out of the house. I went to Chase and I put his card in, I put in the PIN code, and it was accepted. And I clicked the lovely button that said check balance. And what was in his account? 34 cents. And we will continue on in part 18.